Chapter 1. Ducking under the next surf break, Colt paddled the board out under a cloudless sky. It was Zuma Beach in Southern California, and the waves were larger than usual on that mid-May day. Alden, Colt's best friend, was nearly 40 yards further out, despite no other surfers in his general vicinity. After connecting eyes, Alden yelled through the crashing surf, "Colt! Dude, you gotta get out here. They're setting up much nicer, and the ride is gonna definitely be longer, bro. Come on, man, let's do this." Colt could sense a bit of resentment coming from Alden, especially if he didn't paddle out that far. After turning his head away, Colt pulled it right back. "Yeah, man, I'll be right out there. Just wait, so we can go together on the next wave. I ain't going anywhere. I'll just tan my beautiful mug while your old bones comes out." Colt could only laugh to himself while staring into the shiny waters below, noticing the ocean's sandy bottom had now disappeared. In knowing they hadn't ever gone beyond that distance from shore before, he suddenly felt the water's depth was now seemingly intimidating. After reaching Alden, he tapped his chest before pointing his own board's nose back towards the beach. Colt then stared at Zuma Canyon off in the distance, feeling the gentle waves roll underneath. "So, Alzy, how's things going with you and the missus? I know you guys have been on the rocks as of late, but is there any room for reconciliation?" Alden looked over from the beaming sunshine blasting about his face. "Yeah, man, she's like really hormonal or something. It just seems that when shit's going smooth, she's on the rag again, despite just getting off. Yeah. ... I don't know what to do with that filly." Colt quickly snapped his eyes back for the next set of waves. "Look, man, the next group looks pretty tight. Get off the vanity train and put your belly on the board. They're coming, dude." Alden spun off his back and placed his chest onto the wet surfboard, now anticipating the oversized wave. Just then, Colt looked down, astonished. "Dude, ... there's single quotes, at least 2 sharks right underneath us. Don't splash around." Alden looked down, witnessing a smaller shark accompanying a much larger one, both seemingly of the same species. In that moment, fear nearly froze both men, just before the waves started to lift them higher. They both paddled quickly, focusing intently on not falling off the board to the potential of death below. Alden could then envision the larger shark chasing him underwater, poising itself to eventually attack within a few seconds. After managing to stand on the board, enveloped in panic, Colt looked back as Alden had lost his balance nearly halfway back to the beach. For a moment, Colt couldn't figure on what to do. Go out and help, knowing there were sharks within 50 yards, or stay in the shallows, standing and watching. Through seconds of contemplation, he paddled back to Alden with intense fear, knowing it could get ugly within moments. He then connected with Alden's scared eyes. "Let's go, man. I don't know if they're circulating around or what. Let's cruise." Alden snatched his floating surfboard nearly 5 feet away and then quickly slid it under his lean frame. "Dude, the big one just bumped me a second ago. Get the fuck back to the beach, hurry." They proceeded to continue the 40-yard push, both feeling as if that short journey would never finish. After they made it to a 3-foot depth, both stood with boards in hand, looking back into the frothy surf. Alden could only shake his head, walking briskly towards sandy beach ahead. "Hey man, that shit was crazy. I mean, I saw the motherfucker underwater. He just rolled up me like he was gonna take a big chunk out of my ass, and then banged his nose against my leg." Colt shook the debris out of his towel and then draped it over the sand. That's enough to make a guy shit himself. As a matter of fact, I better check to see if I did just that. Alden looked up, fear still emitting from his dark brown eyes. "Yeah, man. Now I know why those fuckers at the life insurance place asked me those questions about surfing. Skydiving, racing cars, scuba diving, ... you know, all that fun shit." Colt pushed his fingers through his slightly wet brown hair. "You know, that shit doesn't surprise me. It's like a painter climbing that ladder every day. The chances of him falling get better every time he goes up. What kind do you think they were? Alden stared at the waves that crashed against the randomly scattered rocks. I don't know what the little one was, but I'm pretty sure the big one was a great white. And you get bit by one of those, it's a bloodbath, to say the least. Both men sat quietly, contemplating the other possibilities that could have transpired, and how it could have changed or ended their young lives. Colt then looked down the beach, noticing a beautiful blonde making for them in the distance. He abruptly looked back to Alden, smiling. You know who that is, man? Alden squinted, trying to make out her long frame as she closed on them with each step. Yeah, that's Liz, and the Hosea behind her are her sidekicks, Amanda and Jesse. Oh shit, that clan? Apparently she and What's-His-Face are off nowadays, and she's looking for some other beefcake, Colt replied. Alden laughed, just before her presence was fully made. Hey guys, Liz said, anxiously. Alden stared at her maroon bikini, smiling perfectly. Hey ladies, how's it going? Oh, we're just a little bored, so we thought we'd take a little walk down the beach, and figured we'd see you guys down here surfing. Colt anxiously brushed some sand off of his knees. Yeah, we were surfing, but I wouldn't go swimming right now. Liz pulled her sunglasses up, revealing her seductive brown eyes. Why? Oh, don't tell me. Yep, there were two sons of a bitches out there. One bumped Alden here, and damn near took a hunk out of his ass. Liz's eyes widened, while Amanda snickered, and Jesse stared into the surf in shock. Liz then sat next to Colt. Yeah, I don't think we'll be swimming today, or maybe ever again on this beach. Colt then glanced at all three girls. Yeah, so what else is happening with you chicks? Jesse looked at Alden, smiling. We were just wondering if you guys wanted to come over to the party house tonight. We're throwing a little send-off shindig for Carrie. She's transferring to USC next week. Alden looked at Colt with a slight grin. What do you think, man? They're usually wild nights over at the old Omega Sigma. Colt could only think of Liz's possessive boyfriend. What's the deal with Larry? Is that freakazoid gonna be there? Yes, ... That you mean Carrie. And yeah, I'm sure he'll show up with his friends. But that shouldn't stop you guys from hanging and having fun. By the way, he's really not my boyfriend. At least not right now, Liz remarked. Colt then looked towards Alden, suspicious. I guess I'm down if you are. Alden just nodded, and then looked back at Jesse. Liz suddenly put her dainty hand on Colt's lower leg. So, we'll see you guys there. You shouldn't have to bring any beer, they're having a fat tire keg. How about 9 or 10? Is that cool? Colt tilted his sunglasses down, stared into her eyes, and replied, Yeah, that'll be fun. We'll see you honeys later on tonight then. Liz smiled, and then stood up, turning to the fit guys. See you guys, and don't be a no-show. You just gave us your word. Alden nonchalantly pointed in Jesse's direction. Oh, don't worry, we'll show up. It'll be a good time. All three young ladies then smiled to varying degrees, before starting back to their respective area down the beach. Colt looked at Alden, after pushing his sunglasses up to his head. Hey man, those girls are smoking hot. That's not the issue here. It's those fucking roid-head boyfriends that get my dander up. That's why I was a little reluctant to commit. You know what I'm saying? They're not the only bitches that are gonna be there. There's plenty of room to hop on the Alden train. I don't discriminate, especially with large quantities of beer in me. Colt laughed, partially thinking about the sharks that randomly cruised the surf. Yeah, you've been known to be a chubby chaser at parties. There's been many a time when you've woke up with a yummy bigger than you. Am I right, Slim? Alden pondered his response through his boyish smile. You've just got to rub my dick in the dirt, after having a couple in the sack. Hey, they've always said, the more cushion, the more pooshin'. Colt responded. Yeah, man, whatever gets your rod hard, that's all that matters, right? Alden shook his head, still looking at the girls walk away. Hey, ... I was meaning to ask you how the sports management thing is going for you. I mean, is it everything you expected it to be? Or is that shit harder than you thought it would be? Colt grabbed his sunglasses and then pulled them over his aching eyes again. Yeah, being a sports agent is kind of what I've always wanted to be. I'm not saying I'm doing as good as I should be, but all in all, it's gonna be a good thing, I think. What about you, sailor? What's the dilly with the computer hacker wannabe? Alden sheepishly said, Yeah, it's going all right, but maybe the partying is getting in the way a tad bit. My GPA went from 2.8 to 2.5 last semester, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough to get me into my advanced computer science classes, though. What I'm saying is that a guy came up to me after class the other day. Colt slowly pulled his attention away from the mirror like Pacific. Yeah, what do you mean, some guy? Alden swallowed, being slow and pensive to respond. Colt, this dude is ripped like us. I don't know how he found me. Maybe it was working out one day. I can't recall. Anyway, he asked me if I wanted to go into some training, down in the Caribbean. Colt looked back at him, perplexed. Training? Alden started to bite his lip before responding. Yep, I guess it's some training for underground cats looking to take on assignments, that they're given from various entities. Colt started to nervously smile through his vagueness. Assignments from various entities? That sounds like some covert James Bond shit, Alden. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Well, what do you think I'm saying? Colt swallowed, thinking of his life and where this conversation was ultimately headed. Do you have any specifics on what this dude was asking of you, or is he keeping you in the dark? Alden looked into Colt's tinted sunglasses, seeing his own reflection. I told him about you, how fit you are, and that you could perhaps be of assistance as well. You offered me up for something you don't even know that much about? Colt asked. Alden pushed his lips together before smiling again. Yeah, man. It's nothing I committed to ... for either of us, obviously. But the guy said he'll call me tomorrow morning and wants to meet both of us for lunch. Is that something that you're open to doing? Colt couldn't help but ponder what it truly was ... Was it some crime that Alden was being set up for? Or was this secretive young man indeed capable of making both of them a legitimate offer? He stood for a moment, anxiously pacing the coarse brown sand. You and I were just talking about our studies, our aspirations on the careers we are trying to attain. And then you come to me with that shit. I think it's kind of bizarre, man, that you would even consider such a thing. I mean, ... don't you think? Alden wiped his dark brow of beading sweat from the 84-degree air. I'm gonna be completely honest with you right now, bro. Colt, I'm practically flunking out of UCL a man. I've been smoking too much weed, drinking too much beer, and eating too much pussy. ... Not all that bad, mind you. Nevertheless, my schoolwork has suffered, to say the least. All this, and my loans have now surpassed $50,000. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to swing a comeback, or if something else is in the cards for yours truly. That's why I even entertained what the guy was telling me. I mean, if my shit was together and my grades were good, I would have told that trigger to pound some pavement. But they're not, and that's why I'm bringing this shit to you, man. Somewhere inside, Colt wasn't surprised at Alden's abrupt disclosure. However, it still hurt to hear his words, being as though they were best friends. In addition, wasting time and money wasn't something he was ever fond of. I'm sorry to hear about your grades, man ... but I'm not doing that bad. And as I've told you before, representing NFL, NBA, NAL, and MLB guys isn't that bad of a gig. Especially if you've seen what kind of contracts they're pulling down here in 2014. Alden considered his statements for a time, gazing at a group of attractive young women stroll by. Although he knew a little more than he was leading on, he didn't want to fully disclose the entire offer. At least not until they had their meeting with the mysterious man the subsequent morning. I can feel ya with the pro sports shit, bro. Those dudes are sleeping in fat cribs and banking big cash. But that stuff isn't that easy to break into either. There's a lot of dogs trying to represent pro ball players, only to get trumped by more experienced, savvier agents. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to discourage you just because I'm a fucking retard with my grades and all. I just want you to come with and keep an open mind. That's cool, right? In his thoughts, Colt didn't want to turn down anything that could potentially benefit him from a financial or personal standpoint. It was the mere thought of throwing all of the hard student work away in just one short meeting, and the possible temptations that could be affiliated with that lunch. For a time, he could only remain silent, looking at his skin to see if the sun had already done its burning damage. Above, Colt spotted a hot air balloon drifting across the bluebird sky, slowly making its way above the active ocean. In that vision, he figured, the beauty of Southern California was something he could never see himself leaving. He knew this was the place he was raised, and the only place he could ever see himself growing old. However, the prospects of leaving the life behind for a different purpose, one that was with his best friend in an exotic location, was certainly a tantalizing thought at the very least. He then caught a glimpse of a little boy with his mother at the edge of the salty water. Both were immersed in making a simple sandcastle, just as the waves gently glided over the fragile structure. He then turned back to Alden, who was immersed in his own thoughts as well. You know, this probably sounds cheesy, but I've always had a soft spot for little kids. I read this shit about people messing with kids in this way or that way. It breaks my heart when that shit seems to always happen, you know? Alden took his viewpoint personally, feeling the same. Yeah, you tend to wonder if these evil perverts out here have a lot of devil in them. If you're those guys, you can't walk around this life and have a clear conscience unless you have that wicked shit in you. Colt looked at Alden seriously, knowing they had usually shared the same viewpoints. You want to jog down the empty part of the beach? Not the girl's way, though. Alden inconspicuously pulled up from his one-hitter metal pipe that he was now smoking marijuana from. Yeah, man, I'm always down for looking good. Let's do it.